What is going on, Crimson City? My name is Crimson CBAD, and today I am very excited to be bringing you guys the Pokemon for Glory draft analysis. Your Detroit Type Nulls are competing in Season 3 of the Pokemon for Glory League. If you guys don't know what that is, recently it just happened. The draft stream happened. Shout out to my boy Kyle A. Putting on a great show, and we are drafting a team. It is a, competitive draft league, as you guys know that I do, and if you guys don't know what that is, basically, we pick 11 Pokemon, and each week we take our 11 Pokemon, find the best 6 to battle everybody's other 11, and I believe it's like a 12-week season, 13-week season. I can double check that here really quickly, but this is a very interesting league because similar, most other leagues, what you end up seeing is that, let me double check here. We have, 13 week season. Okay, just wanted to double check. So typically in most leagues you see a lot of stuff that are higher tiered Pokemon. If you're familiar with draft leagues, you've got your tier 1s, your tier 2s, your mega Pokemon. This season we decided to do something different, and this is the first league to ever do that, and I'm very happy to have been a part of orchestrating this idea, because I think a lot of the coaches are really going to enjoy it. What we're doing is that we're using tier 3 and below Pokemon with no megas. So you can compare this to, if you're familiar with something like Pokemon Showdown, you can compare this with Pokemon that are like RU and below. So you're going to see a lot of Pokemon that you really have never seen drafted or used a lot. And I'm so very excited for this league. I'm excited to break down my team for you guys. The team builders, I believe, will go up every Saturday, and battles will go up every Sunday. This first week we're playing my friend Lynx Forte and the South Florida Bulus. I'm really looking forward to that as well. But before we talk anything about matches, before we talk about all that, we need to talk about our draft. And if you guys watch the draft, you already know our team, but this is where I'm going to break it down for those of you guys who may have missed it, so you guys can see my picks, my thought process, and all that fun stuff. So if you guys are excited, show some love on the like button, and of course, if you guys are new, feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. The first Pokemon on our list, so we were near the back end. We were near the back end of the draft. I believe it was 14th overall, so a lot of cool stuff got to go right out the gate. I mean, both the Nidos went, Zygarde 10% went, Darmanitan went, a lot of Pokemon that I really, really wanted to use had went and gone, and unfortunately, one of the Nidos would have been absolutely fantastic, whether it be Nidoking or Nidoqueen. Zygarde 10% was on my roster, was on my radar just immediately. I was like, that thing is going to be an absolute monster. So I wanted something that I felt, because none of the coaches had drafted like this before, I wanted something that could be very versatile. I wanted something that could potentially allow for some setup, things like that. I wanted something that could, was going to do really well for me. And it had been a minute. The last time I made a mascot draft was last year in the WBE when we drafted Skarmory with the Steel Wings. And before that was my very first season in the GBA with the Skarmory pick and the Steel Wings. So I thought, let's get a little mascot pick in. Let's see. I think a lot of people are going to be going for it and gunning for it. So I went on ahead, and my first round pick was Silvally, aka Babylon. We have Silvally here, and I honestly thought this was going to go before me. I really wanted to use it. I think Silvally is a fantastic Pokemon. If you guys don't, Silvally is one of my favorite Pokemon. So I've got my Gladian artwork right over here, and it's got the Silvally and the Type Null. I've got, the Detroit Type Nulls. I've got, like, my Type Null trading card over there that I got. I don't collect the trading cards, but I've got a Type Null card over there, man. I love Silvally, man. I think it is so, so, so cool. It gives me a ton of access to a lot of stuff. If there's any weaknesses that my team has, or maybe just something I need a little bit extra typing, we just toss a memory on there that's RKS system. Whatever memory it has, it changes to that form, which is so very, very cool. We have access to all the typings with this Pokemon. We have access to Parting Shot, which allows us to drop the attack and the special attack stage of the Pokemon that we are facing, and allows us to pivot out into another mon, potentially for setup or just to get momentum a little bit. We have access to U-turn pivoting as well. We have access to Defog. We have access to a variety of moves. Let me open up. I don't have Pokemon Showdown open right now. We have access to so many things, and of course we have its signature move, multi-attack, which becomes the type of whatever item or whatever memory it is holding right here. Taking a look at some, Air Slash Crunch, I already talked about as a defogger. Gets access to Draco Meteor. It gets access to a lot of really cool stuff, different elements, different elemental stuff. Ice Beam, Iron Head, I talked about the multi-attack. We talked about the Parting Shot. It's a good Pursuit Trapper. It does get Roar for phasing things out. It does have access to setup through Swords Dance. It's Tailwind support. It can Thunder Wave. It can Toxic things. Like I said, it can U-turn. It has so many cool things about it, and I'm really looking forward to using Silvally. I think it is going to be an absolutely fantastic, fantastic Pokemon. I would draft this thing in a regular league, so the fact that in a tier 3 or below league that we got this Silvally pick, I am so incredibly I'm so excited about it. So with this Pokemon, we open the doors for a lot of, like I said, with access to Parting Shot, being able to set up, with access to phasing out things, with access to defog, we do have hazard control. And like I said, we really, this can be a glue for a team each and every week. And one of the Pokemon that I also wanted to grab, that again, very surprised I was able to grab it, last season in the P4G. I believe she was one of our #1 kill leaders, if not our kill leader, but we are bringing back Siren the Meloetta. We do have access to both Meloetta Aria form and Meloetta Pirouette form. I couldn't remember what the regular form is. People know it as Meloetta Pirouette, but Meloetta Aria and Pirouette forms. Talking about this Pokemon really quickly, something that I didn't mention with Silvally, base 95 stats across the board really give us a lot of good momentum, considering there are no I believe the only base 100 allowed in this league was Shaman. This is the closest we're going to get to something like that with our base 95, so talking a little bit about Meloetta right here. It has tremendous bulk. It's got a base HP stat of 100. It has, in Aria form, it has a base special attack and special defense of 128, attack and defense of 77, and a speed of 90. And if we turn that to the Pirouette form, we do also increase our speed overall with 128 attack, 128 speed, and 90 in defense, 77 in special attack and special defense. We do have the Serene Grace ability, which doubles the let me get the actual definition. The Pokemon's moves have their secondary effect chance doubled. So the move that you would use for Meloetta in order to transform would be Relic Song, which has a 10% chance to put a Pokemon to sleep. With that and the Serene Grace, you do have a 20% chance to put a Pokemon to sleep and transform into the Pirouette form. It has a ton of coverage, whether it be special. In the Aria form, it is a normal Psychic type, and in the Pirouette form, it is a normal Fighting type. So one of the cool things that we do have right now is that we do have not only type advantage with changing up our Silvally, but we also have the potential to change our Meloetta form based on the match. Obviously, when it first comes into battle, it is the Aria form. We do need to pack the Relic Song to gain access to the Pirouette form, but once Pirouette is out, I mean, it is just there to stay. So we can talk a little bit about some of its move pool right here. As far as the physical coverage goes, it has things like Acrobatics, Brick Break, Close Combat, Knockoff, Facade, Drain Punch. It can Parasong things. It has Priority and Quick Attack, which is Stab. I mean, absolutely incredible. It can trick Pokemon too. It can trick away items. From a special moveset, it does have access to Calm Mind. It has access to Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, Focus Blast, Grass Knot. You can obviously run Hidden Powers and all that good stuff. Stab Hyper Voice is very scary. I did talk about the Parasong. It does have access to physical setup to Power Up Punch as well. Psychic, Psyshock, Shadow Ball, Physical Shadow Claw, Stone Edge. We do have speed control with Thunder Wave. We do have turn momentum with U-Turn as well. Charge Beam, 90% accurate, but with the Serene Grace, 100% of the time, we're getting a special attack boost. That is very cool. Things like Laser Focus, things like Magic Room. I believe also it does have the ability to set up Trick Room as well. So we do have more speed control in that aspect too. And even though it is a base 90 speed Pokemon, under a Trick Room, if somebody's outspeeding us, we can just go for it. And nothing really appreciates, with a league like this, you really have to plan for setup. And being able to Power Up Punch with Meloetta Pirouette, being able to Calm Mind with Meloetta Aria is absolutely terrifying, especially paired with the fact that Silvally does have Parting Shot. So I'm really looking forward to using Siren. She was an again, both of these Pokemon, we drafted Meloetta last time in the P4G. Both of these Pokemon I would draft in regular league format too. So the fact that we got both of these in this this condensed league version, I would say, is absolutely fantastic. I think it is a incredible Pokemon. I'm so glad that we have the Meloetta. Next up here, we do have a Pokemon that I have been. This is the Pokemon that I have formerly been retired from the GBA. I came out of retirement in the GBA, and then I retired again from the GBA. But the first time I got retired was by this Pokemon right here, and that is Venomoth. Venomoth. We have Bluetooth the Venomoth here. It is a bug poison type Pokemon. We can talk about its base stats here. 70 base HP, 65 in attack, 60 in defense, 90 in special attack, 75 in special defense, and 90 in speed. So nothing too overwhelming as far as its stats goes, but it does have the Tinted Lens ability. This Pokemon's attacks that are not very effective on a target deal double damage. So that is absolutely incredible, because if it's a resist, it's not a resist anymore. And being able to set up, we can talk about its moveset right here. We do have agility, we do have baton passing that we can't baton pass, multiple stats and all that good stuff. Stab moves and bug buzz. It does have access to defog. I don't know how often I'll run defog Venomoth, but we do have 2 forms of hazard removal now. It can disable Pokemon for 4 turns, disables the target's last move used, which is really cool. Has access to Energy Ball, has access to recovery through Giga Drain and Morning Sun. It has access to Psychic, and one of my favorite moves in the game it has access to is setup, which is Quiver Dance. So being able to Parting Shot out into Silvally and Quiver Dancing up with Venomoth, absolutely incredible Pokemon. Even potentially tricking a Pokemon with Meloetta, being able to cripple it, being able to Thunder Wave speed control with Silvally and Meloetta, being able to just provide Tailwind support with Silvally as well, really does help Venomoth out quite a bit. It does have access to Sleep Powder as well, 75% accurate, but it puts the target to sleep, which is really what you want to see right there. If you want to set up with a Quiver Dance, something like that. It does have Tailwind support as well. It can set up Toxic Spikes, which is another cool thing. It can phase things out with Whirlwind, and it does have U-turn support. You know, you're not going to run a physical Venomoth, but being able to U-turn out could be potentially really cool. Like I said, just being able to set up with Quiver Dance and running specific Z moves. And one thing I forgot to mention was that we are allowing all offensive Z moves in this league. So Silvally can run a Z move, Meloetta can run a Z move, Venomoth can run a Z move. So being able to Quiver Dance into something like a Bugium Z or a Poisium Z or a Psychium Z, I mean, especially with Tinted Lens, just oh my goodness, absolutely, this Pokemon is going to put in a ton of work. Like I said, with the speed control that we already have, I think it is going to be absolutely incredibly fantastic. I've been afraid of this mon for a long time, but it's time I embrace the Venomoth and I go on ahead and draft it and pick it up for myself. So hope you guys are ready for Bluetooth the Venomoth to come on out. The next Pokemon I have always prepped hard against, and it's a very interesting Pokemon because it only has the one weakness. I don't like doubling up on my types necessarily, but you guys will see that there are some type doubles. But one of the reasons that I like this Pokemon is that it does have a lot of physical bulk behind it, and it does have a lot of utility for our team as well. So the next Pokemon I would like to introduce you to is Arsenic the Drapion. Drapion's base stats are pretty decent in my opinion. 70 base HP, 90 base attack, 110 base defense, 60 in special attack, 75 special defense, and 95 base speed. So it is the Poison Dark type, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, makes the only weakness that it has is ground right now, so that is very cool. We can talk a little bit about its abilities right here. It does have the Battle Armor ability. It can't be struck by a critical hit, which is awesome. It has the Sniper ability. If this Pokemon strikes with a critical hit, the damage is multiplied by 1.5, and then the Keen Eye, this Pokemon's accuracy can't be lowered by others. So that is something to note about the Drapion. 9 times out of 10, it'll be Battle Armor if it's defensive or Sniper if it's offensive. Let's talk about its moveset a little bit. It does have access to set up through Agility, boosting its speed by 2 stages. Has access to Aqua Tail, Brick Break, Crunch, Earthquake, Facade, Fire Fang. It can set up with Hone Claws. It has Ice Fang. It has Stab Knockoff, which is very good to have, especially in this format where a lot of Pokemon are going to be running things like Eviolite in order to increase their bulk. Being able to get that extra stab damage output with the knockoff is very nice. It does have Poison Jab. It is a great Pursuit Trapper. It does have access to phasing things out with Roar. It can set up with Swords Dance. It's a taunt user. It can set up Toxic Spikes. It can also set up, or it can also phase out with Whirlwind. So if there's a soundproof mon on the opponent's team, we can go for a Whirlwind as opposed to a Roar and go from there. It does have access to X-Scissor. Being able to set up with Acupressure, I mean, that's kind of a gamble in itself, but if it pays out, it's good. It has access to Cross Poison. It has a high critical hit ratio. Pairing that with Sniper, the Sniper ability rather, is very cool. Let me just keep looking through there. It has access to Iron Tail, so being able to like Z Iron Tail something could be very awesome. Poison Tail, again, another high critical hit ratio move, but that's only base 50 as opposed to the Cross Poison. Has access to Rock Tomb for speed control. It has access to Snarl, which is stab, and while it doesn't have an impressive special attack stat, being able to snarl something and dropping their special attack by 1 stage does allow for potential setup from our other Pokemon, which is really cool. It does have access to Stomping Tantrum if power doubles if the user's last move has failed. And the only time you would really see this ran over Earthquake is in a very good prediction game where, say you go for a Poison type move on a Steel type coming in, then all of a sudden you drop a Stomping Tantrum. Now that's all of a sudden a base 150 power ground type move that could be very useful as well. It does have Throat Chop. That is stab. For 2 turns, the target cannot use sound moves. So one of the really cool things about that is Pokemon such as Exploud, Pokemon such as Swellow, Pokemon such as Gardevoir, Pokemon such as Noivern. These Pokemon that have sound-based moves such as Boom Burst, such as Hyper Voice, can't use those if we're able to get a Throat Chop off, which is really awesome, and then that does allow us the potential to move around with that. It does have the Thunderfang for coverage as well. And yeah, it's a really cool Pokemon. I really have never used it. It does provide us a little bit of bulk. It does give us, like I said, a secondary poison type, but Drapion is just really cool. I like having that dark type there. It pairs nicely with our Meloetta, being able to either be the psychic or the fighting type. Having that core that deals with that is very cool. And the fact that it doesn't share the same weakness as Venomoth. Venomoth being a neutral hit to ground, if I'm not mistaken. Being able to take those psychic type attacks that potentially Meloetta, Pirouettes, or Venomoth want to take is very, very cool. Like I said, even though they're both poison type Pokemon, they do kind of pair well together offensively. Venomoth being a more specially offensive Pokemon, and Drapion being a more physically offensive Pokemon. But now with that being said, we do need some fairy action on the team. We do need a little bit of a ground resist. While Venomoth does get hit neutrally, it's still not frail. It's still frail enough to not want to take it. Meloetta does get worn down pretty easily, and depending on her Silvally type, we might want to take a ground type. So the next Pokemon on the team that we are getting for the squad is going to be VIP the Whimsicott. This is the only Pokemon so far that I've used Meloetta before, but aside from Meloetta, the only Pokemon that I've ever used in draft format before that I love so very, very much. And the fact that it went 5th overall absolutely blows my mind. Whimsicott is a fantastic Pokemon. It is a grass fairy type. Its base stats, it has a base HP of 60, a base attack of 67, base defense of 85, special attack of 77, special defense of 75, and 116 speed. So it's very fast. It does give us our first Pokemon above a base 100 speed tier, which there aren't too many of those floating around in this draft, to be completely honest. You know, a lot of those go in the first couple rounds, so being able to snag this Pokemon fifth overall, or 5th for our team overall, is absolutely incredible. We can talk a little bit about its abilities here. Two of my favorite abilities, Prankster and Infiltrator. It does also have the hidden ability Chlorophyll, which doubles the Pokemon speed in Sun, but I don't know if we'll ever run a Chlorophyll Whimsicott. Potentially. We'll see. It does have the Infiltrator. The moves ignore substitutes, reflect, light screen, safeguard, mist, and aurora veil. So if someone's setting up screens, somebody's behind a substitute, our moves go through them. They are not affected by the screens. They're not affected by the substitute. None of that fun stuff. But typically what you see is the Prankster ability. This Pokemon status moves have priority raised by 1, but dark types are immune. So what that means is that moves like Leech Seed, moves like Stun Spore, moves like Tailwind, moves like Defog. We now have our 3rd Defogger on the team, and a Prankster Defogger at that. So if this Pokemon comes in on 1 HP and I need to get hazards away, you know, I can guarantee that my hazards are removed from the side of the field. What that does mean, though, is that if the status move does inflict, you know, on a Pokemon, so something like a Prankster Encore, perhaps a Prankster Leech Seed or Stun Spore, say it is a Whimsicott versus a Crocodile, I can't get my Prankster move off because it is a dark type. It will not work. That is something that does not happen. Prankster moves that affect myself or my team, that is okay, but if I'm going to use my Prankster ability to attack an opponent's dark type Pokemon, it just does not work out like that. But we can take a little look at its moveset right here. From a setup perspective, or for where the Prankster ability comes in handy, it does have the Cotton Guard. Prankster Cotton Guard is awesome. Let me tell you, raises the user's defense by 3 stages. I've used Cotton Guard Whimsicott before. I guarantee you I'll run it a couple times this season. It's so good because it raised the defense by 3 stages. So even though it only has, you know, base HP of 60 and a base defense of 85, raising that 3 stages, even with minimal investment, just immediately makes you a physical wall. Being able to pack that with leftovers, Giga Drain, Leech Seed, things like that, just make it just such a long-lasting Pokemon. It does have the Endeavor. It does have access to Endeavor, lowering the target's HP to the user's HP. So if we are, you know, we're a very fast Pokemon, if we're bringing like a Focus Sash Whimsicott, we can go for an Endeavor, hopefully faster than the other Pokemon because we got 116 base speed, and we bring them down to 1 HP as well. We do have access to Encore. The target repeats its last move for 3 turns, so if a Pokemon is setting up, we bring in this thing and we click Encore, and that is good to go. It has access to Energy Ball. It has access to Giga Drain, like I said, for the recovery. It has access to Grass Knot. Typically, you'll see something like Giga Drain ran, though. It has access to Hurricane, a base 110 power flying move, 70% accuracy, but if somebody, you know, is bringing rain, we can bring Hurricane Whimsicott and just kind of start firing those bad boys off. It has access to Knockoff, which is really cool as well. Another Knockoff user outside of the Meloetta and the Drapion. It has access to Leech Seed. 1/8 of the target's HP is restored to the user every turn. It is priority boosted. It is a 90% accurate move, which is unfortunate, but that's the game we play. It has access to Light Screen, being able to Prankster Light Screen. Cotton Guard and Light Screen Prankster. Now, it doesn't get Reflect, which, and let me double check before I say that. It doesn't get Reflect, which is unfortunate, but being able to boost our own defense and then being able to go for a Light Screen on the opposing Pokemon if they're attacked. So say goes for a physical attack, and then it's like, haha, I have HP poison, haha, Light Screen, and then all of a sudden our special defense is doubled. Or not our special defense, but special damage to us is halved, which is really, really cool. Stab Moonblast is so cool. Fairy moves in this format Not much wants to take a fairy move that wants to take any other coverage move that this thing could possibly have. So that's another awesome thing about Whimsicott, is that not only defensively can it be really good, it can be used as a good utility. It can also be used very, very well as an offensive Pokemon as well. Another move that it has access to is Memento, being able to lower the target's attack and special attack by 2, and the Whimsicott faints. So being able to Prankster Memento, that just opens up so many doors for setup opportunities with things like Meloetta, things like the Drapion, things like the Venomoth as well. Nature Power attack depends on the terrain. There are no terrains available, but Nature Power is a prankster move. So if we have a Pokemon that sets a terrain and then all of a sudden we start running prankster Nature Powers, man, that's absolutely awesome. It has access to Psychic. It does have recovery through rest. It does have access to Stun Spore, which again is boosted by the prankster. It does have access to Substitute, Switcheroo as well, being able to switch some items. So if we're at Specs Whimsicott and all of a sudden, you know, he's got a Pokemon coming in with the leftovers, we can hit Switcheroo and trick those items and cripple it. Prankster Tailwind as well. Speed support, really, really good for a lot of our slower Pokemon, for Meloetta Aria, for Venomoth, for Drapion, for the Silvally as well. It does have Prankster Taunt as well, which is so cool. It does have Toxic, and it has Pivot Momentum with U-Turn. I'm just double checking. It has Prankster Cotton Spore, lowering the target's speed by 2 stages, which could be potentially really cool. Grass Whistle, I mean, I'm looking through some of these. Prankster Worry Seed, the target's ability becomes Insomnia. So if we're dealing with something that has an ability that I don't like, I Prankster Worry Seed that boy, and it is gone. I love Whimsicott. I think it's a great Pokemon. I'm so glad we have it. I needed a Grass-type Pokemon on the team, and I needed a Fairy-type Pokemon on the team, and I think Whimsicott does the job. It fits the bill. I love it. I love it. I love it. Whimsicott is going to do absolutely fantastic. Another Pokemon that I am really excited to use because I've seen its evolved form used a lot, and the reason why people, I guess, are mixed on using its evolved form is because it does not have access to its hidden ability. But in this league, it does have access to its hidden ability. It is going to hit so very hard. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Shisui the Frogadier. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to use Frogadier. It is not even funny. I drafted it because it has Protean. If you don't know what Protean is, this Pokemon type changes to match the type of the move it is about to use. So every time I attack, it gets that extra stab boost, which is fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about Frogadier stats before we talk about its offensive presence and what it does for our team. Stat-wise, it's nothing too crazy. 54 base HP, 63 base attack, 52 base defense, 83 base special attack, 56 base special defense, and 97 base speed. So we're not hitting over 100. However, with the speed support that we do have on the team, with Thunderwave, with Tailwind support, we do have access for Frogadier to just be an absolute monster in this format. Like a 97 base speed, the second fastest Pokemon on the team outside of Meloetta Pirouette. If you're counting it Meloetta Pirouette and Whimsicott, it is the third fastest Pokemon on the team. But let's talk a little bit about what it can do. So like I said, that Protean boost is very, very cool. We have access to Dark Pulse, we have access to Grass Knot, we have access to Gunk Shot, we have access to Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Low Kick, Set Up through Power Up Punch, Priority and Quick Attack, Rock Slide, Scald, Surf. It can be a Taunt user. It can set up T-Spikes. It can U-turn around. It's so cool of a Pokemon, so niche of a Pokemon that I think every week's, and it also has set up through Workup as well, which is absolutely incredible. While it doesn't have as many coverage moves, so Greninja gets spikes, Frogadier does not, but Frogadier does get Toxic Spikes. So one of the things that I like about this Pokemon is that even though its coverage moveset, even though its coverage pool isn't that expansive, it's still so fantastic of a Pokemon, especially in this format, being able to hit very hard with that Protean boost, being able to rock a Life Orb, being able to Choice Scarf this thing, and being able to just run shop on an opponent's team, especially the hidden powers as well. Being able to change into that typing with the hidden power and go for those Protean boosted moves can be very, very, very nice. Typically, I'm a fan of the more bulkier water type Pokemon, but I decided this time around, especially because we have access to bulk through Silvally, through Meloetta, through Drapion, through potentially a setup Whimsicott, I wanted to go a little bit more offensive, and I think Frogadier does that job so very, very well. I'm so excited to be using Frogadier. Now, looking at the team, like I said, we're pretty slow. Our third fastest Pokemon is base 97 speed. Meloetta isn't that fast until after a Relic Song, so technically like the second fastest Pokemon on the team. We do need a little bit of speed on the team. We are lacking a Steel type. We are lacking an Electric immunity as well. So the next Pokemon I would like to introduce you to is Full Metal, the Alolan Dugtrio. Let's talk a little bit about Alolan Dugtrio really quickly. It does have a base HP of 35, which is not much, base attack of 100, a base speed of 110, and the rest of the base stats you really don't need to know about because it really has an attack stat and a speed stat, and the rest of it is just kind of eh. It is a ground steel type Pokemon. It does have the signature ability, the signature ability, Tangling Hair. Anytime a Pokemon makes contact with this Pokemon, physical contact with this Pokemon, the speed stage is lowered by +1. So that does allow us a little bit more speed control in a sense, for Silvally, for Meloetta, for Venomoth. It does also have 2 other abilities in Sand Force and Sand Veil. If anybody drafts Gigalith, if anybody drafts Hippopotas, we do have the ability to run both of those as well. Moves like Earthquake, moves like Final Gambit, does damage equal to the user's HP, and then I Faint, has access to Memento as well, has access to Stab Ironhead, has Night Slash. It's a Pursuit Trapper as well, which is really cool because its Cantonian counterpart, regular Dugtrio, has the Arena Trap. They can switch out on this thing, but I can Pursuit them. It does have access to Rock Slide. It does have access to setting up rocks. So now we have a Stealth Rocker on the team, which we were actually lacking before. All we had were Toxic Spikers. So being able to set up rocks is really cool. It has access to Stone Edge, Priority, and Sucker Punch, and it can Toxic things as well. Some niche moves such as Aerial Ace, such as Beat Up, just in case those might hit a little bit harder than Earthquake. Being able to set up with Iron Defense, it does have Metal Claw, which boosts our attack, so that's a sense of setup. Being able to Sandstorm as well, and set up through workup as well could also be potentially really cool. But what this thing does is it does give us a little bit more speed. If an opponent doesn't have a Pokemon higher than a base 110 speed, you can guarantee you can run this with a Choice Scarf, and you know every week that you have a Pokemon that is going to outspeed no matter what, and you can go for things like Final Gambit, you can go for things like Earthquake, you can go for things like Ironhead. So I think Alolan Dugtrio does really, really well on the team. I think Full Metal provides us a little bit more physical presence in case Drapion might not make the cut, if Meloetta Pirouette form doesn't make the cut, or even like a physical Silvally, something like that. And like I said, with that speed stat, we are just doing so very, very well against the rest of the team. So looking at our team right now, we have a Water type, and we have a Grass type, we have a Fairy type, and we have a Steel type, but we have no Fire type, and we have no Dragon type. And I was really on the fence about this pick, honestly. I was more so looking to complete my own defensive cores, which you may or may not think is, overrated. I think defensive cores work really well, at least for planning. And it does make it a little bit harder for opponents to prep for. So I wanted a Fire Dragon type, and there's only one of those, I believe, around, and that is Turtonator. We have Cupcake the Turtonator on our team. She has the Shell Armor ability, which means she cannot be struck by a critical hit. Defensively, I like this typing a lot. It does, because it's Fire type, it is a neutral hit against fairies. We do share all the same weaknesses we share the ground and rock weakness that Fire has. We are weak to Dragon, we are neutral to Ice, and we are neutral to Water as well, which is cool. Decent bulk, base HP of 60, base defense of 135, and base special defense of 85. Doesn't have too much speed, base 36 speed, base 78 attack, and base 91 special attack. But the cool thing that this thing does have is that it has a signature move. Shell Trap, there it is. User must take physical damage before moving, and it's a base 150 Fire type move. With 100% accuracy. So if we're hit by Shell Trap, or if we go for Shell Trap and someone hits us, we go for a move, and you gotta be a Fire Resist in order to take that thing, because oh my goodness, it has access to through Bulk Up, through Shell Smash. It does have some really cool moves. Draco Meteor, it can phase out with Dragon Tail. It does have physical Dragon Claw, special Dragon Pulse. It has access to Earthquake, Endeavor, Explosion, Fire Blast, Flame Charge, Flamethrower, Flash Cannon, Focus Blast, Head Smash, Hyper Voice, Iron Head, Outrage, Overheat. Can phase out through Roar. I talked about the Shell Smashing set. It can rest Sleep Talk as well. Can set up subs. It's also a taunt user. It has access to Toxic. It has access to Will-O-Wisp. I mean, this Pokemon is just, on paper, it's really cool. I just don't know how well we're going to use it. I'd love to be able to Shell Smash with Turtonator and go for a sweep at some point. Toss a Z-move on there, and like really once you Shell Smash with the Turtonator, if you don't have a Dragon Resist or something like that, I mean, it is just game over at that point. So like I said, with that base 36 speed, it's not doing anything too crazy, but I'm really excited for Turtonator. I think it's gonna do well. I really like this Pokemon a lot. The more that I think about it, the more that I do like it. At first I was like, I'm hesitant, but the more I've let the gears turn in my head, I really, really do like this Pokemon, and I think it is going to put in an absolute ton of work this season. The next Pokemon on our team, again, a little ground weak. We have a 1, 2, 3 Pokemon that are weak to ground right now. We can potentially work around those, but we're kind of ground weak right now. So the next Pokemon on our team is going to be Psychovolt, the Vikavolt. She is the Bug Electric type Pokemon with the Levitate ability, so does give us a ground immunity outside of Mold Breakers. This thing is a monster. This thing is a monster. 145 base special attack. Again, another Pokemon where base 43 speed We're not too fast. We do have Tailwind support. Vikavolt does have the ability to set up via agility, which is cool. Good bulk around it too. 77 base HP, 90 base defense, and 75 base special defense. Like I said, it has the access to set up through agility. It has access to moves like Air Slash, Bug Buzz, Discharge, Energy Ball, Flash Cannon. It can set up a light screen for itself. It has recovery through Roost, which is really, really cool. Signal Beam, Thunderbolt, Thunder Wave for further speed control, being able to toxic Pokemon, and being able to Volt Switch out is also very, very cool. Nothing too crazy is on the, as far as the, Magnet Rise too. So just in case there's a Mold Breaker Pokemon, we can Magnet Rise. We can set up through Iron Defense, raising our defense by 2. Solar Beam could be a really cool way of going for like a Grassy MZ Solar Beam too. Thunder, Zap Cannon, being able to Electro MZ those things and toss it on this Pokemon with 145 base special attack is absolutely fantastic. I think we've got enough speed control on our team through Tailwind, through Thunder Wave, through Cotton Spore, and plus set up with Vikavolt with agility. So I think Vikavolt's going to do very, very well. I really like its typing in this. Typically, I like a little bit more faster of an electric type Pokemon, but I think this has enough bulk to take the hits and then just absolutely run shop. So I'm excited to use Vikavolt. I hope you guys are too. I think Vikavolt is going to be a great addition to the team. I think it provides a good sense of bulk on our team, and I think it's going to do really well. I mean, we've got now 2 Bug-type Pokemon, and two Poison-type Pokemon. So again, I'm not the world's biggest fan of doubling up on my typings, but I felt like within this format especially, it is going to do very, very well. The next Pokemon that we drafted, I'm a little bit biased towards because I love its evolution, and I really, really, really hope it does very well in this format because I think it's... similar to the Frogadier pick, I really like its evolution, so I'm hoping it's going to do just as well in this format. We have Junior the Staravia. Staravia! It is the normal flying type Pokemon. It has 2 really good abilities in League format. The Intimidate ability, which drops the opponent's attack stage by 1, and it has the Reckless ability, which if you don't know what Reckless is, this Pokemon's attacks with recoil or crash damage have an extra 20% boost. So moves like Brave Bird and Double Edge are boosted. Its stats aren't really that crazy, but again, in this league, you don't really see, you know, obviously Staraptor's gonna have better stats, but Staravia here, it does so very well. 80 base speed, 75 base attack, nothing really else you gotta worry about right there. We do have another Defogger. It does have access set up through agility. It can Detect, it can Final Gambit, it can Double Edge, it can Brave Bird, it can Pursuit Trap, it has priority and quick attack, it can Roost for the recovery, it can set up Tailwind as well, it can phase out with Whirlwind, and it does have Pivot, Momentum, and U-Turn. So we have a lot of Pokemon that can pivot out. Parting Shot and U-Turn on Silvally, U-Turn on Meloetta, U-Turn on Venomoth, U-Turn on Whimsicott, U-Turn on Frogadier, Volt Switch on Vikavolt, and now U-Turn on Staravia. So, really cool Pokemon. Feather Dance, lowering the target's attack by 2 stages. That can be very, very cool, especially paired with the Intimidate. It can set up the Rain, it can set up the Sun, it can go for stab takedowns, which if you don't want to run Double Edge, it has the less recoil, but it still gets the boost. Things like that. So, I like this Pokemon. I think it's really cool. I think Staravia is going to put in a ton of work. I think that hard-hitting flying types, I loved Staraptor in League format, so I'm hoping that I love Staravia just as much. We're missing a solid fighting type on the team. Obviously, we have Meloetta Pirouette. I'm not bringing Meloetta Pirouette every week, so I do like the potential for a fighting type Pokemon. There's not too many fairy types running around in the format without drafting, you know, things like Carbink, without drafting things like, what's it called? Flabebe, things like that. I don't even remember if anybody drafted those, but... So, Dragon-type Pokemon can be really, really interesting in this format. At least in theory, they can be. So, the next Pokemon that we have here, and the last Pokemon rounding out the Detroit-type Nulls for Season 3 of P4G, we have Coachella, the Hakamo. Hakamo is the Dragon and Fighting types. Now we have 2 Dragon-type Pokemon on the team, which, again, might seem a little weird. I don't like doubling up my typings. I think Hakamo is cool. I don't know if Hakamo will stay around. There's another Pokemon that I'm not going to talk about that I've got on my radar right now that I might, after thinking about, trade out for Hakamo, but week 1 battles, we can't make any trades, so leading up into week 2, I might trade it out to see, depending on how I like it. But Hakamo's abilities, it has the Bulletproof ability, making the user immune to ballistic moves such as Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, Focus Blast. If you throw something at it, it's like, imagine like shooting something at it, it has Bulletproof, or it has the Soundproof ability. This Pokemon is immune to sound-based moves, so Roar, Hyper Voice, Boom Burst. We're the only Pokemon that has Relic Song with Meloetta. Bug Buzz, like moves that would go, like just sound-based moves that you would imagine hearing. Soundproof is not affected by those. And then it has the Overcoat ability. This Pokemon is immune to powder moves and damage from Sandstorm or Hail, which is another cool thing. Let's talk a little bit about Coachella here. So it does not get rocks like its evolution Como-O does, but it does have access to set up through Atomize, through Bulk Up, through Dragon Dance as well. It can set up either physically or specially. I believe it also gets Work Up, if I'm not mistaken. It does get Work Up as well. So being able to Atomize Work Up, being able to toss off Close Combats, Aqua Tails, Dragon Claws, Draco Meteors. It can phase out with Dragon Tail. It has Drain Punch for recovery, Earthquake, Facade, Focus Blast, Iron Head, Low Kick, Outrage, Rock Slide, Shadow Claw. Set up with Swords Dance. It's a taunt user. It can Toxic things as well. It's got some really cool coverage moves that potentially paired with setup and a Z move that could catch our opponents off guard. And that's one of the things that I wanted with Hakamo. I wanted a fighting type that not only could hit really hard with a base 75 attack. I wanted a Pokemon that could also catch an opponent off guard with a niche Z move. That's one of my favorite things about League format is with the ability to run a niche Z move. So being able to run like a Watarium Z Hakamo could catch an opponent off guard. Being able to run a Buggium Z Hakamo could be caught off guard. A Flynium Z Staravia, you know, a Groundium Z Drapion, things like that. That's one of my favorite things. Another thing that I really like about our team is that I feel like given the Pokemon that we have, we're not too Eevee-Light dependent. Something like Frogadier is going to appreciate a Life Orb or a Choice Scarf more so than it will appreciate an Eevee-Light, but it does get that as an option. Something like Staravia could potentially use a Choice Band or a Choice Scarf, potentially even Leftovers if it's a defensive set, but could also have the Eevee-Light because it does get recovery. And then again, the same thing with Hakamo. It can run a Z move or it can run an Eevee-Light to increase its bulk. It has a base defense of 90 and a base special defense of 70. So unless you have a super effective type move to hit the Hakamo, you know, this thing is going to hit, this thing is going to be able to take hits and dish them out just as good. And I'm really happy with our Pokemon 4 Glory team. Hope you guys are too. This has probably been the longest draft analysis I've ever done, but I'm so very excited for this team. This draft style is just, I love it so much. I cannot wait to use our team. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have enjoyed, show some love in the like button down below. If you guys are new, feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. Week 1 begins this week. We are playing Lynx Forte and the South Florida Bulus. Get ready for that team builder on Saturday. All that being said, I want to remind you guys to be great and do great. I'm going to let this outro bang. I'm going to talk to you all soon. Later.